My name's Alison Balsom. I'm a trumpet soloist. I'm from England and I studied at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama, and I also studied at the Paris Conservatoire. After that, I took part in the Maurice Andre competition and played at the Salle Pleyel, in fact. Studying in Paris was very interesting for me because it's a very different training. In England there's a very strong orchestral brass tradition. We all train to become orchestral players, and I went to the Conservatoire and I learned that it was totally different. It's very soloistic training, and the trumpet is treated much more like the other wind instruments and taken very seriously as a solo instrument, has much repertoire written, and it was a completely different way of learning, and we all had to learn our solos each week and stand up and compete with each other almost. And then I went back to England and it was again a whole new experience. And then after that I studied with the Swedish trumpeter Håkan Hardenberger, so I've tried to get around Europe as much as possible with my studies. It's very interesting how this piece came about, because he did write it for the Viennese court trumpeter Anton Weidinger, and Weidinger had invented this new trumpet that could play all the notes of the scale. Up until this time it wasn't possible. Only the harmonic series, at the very top, the clarino register, was possible. And I believe it was advertised to be something sensational and new, and I think it took 4 years before this concert finally happened, because Weidinger was still trying to learn the piece, learn the notes. And in the very introduction of the piece you hear the trumpet go da 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 da, which of course would have been possible on the old style trumpet. And I really think this might have been Haydn teasing the audience, so by this point they're fidgeting and thinking, this isn't new, we've heard this all before. But when the melody comes in, the theme comes in properly, immediately you hear da da da, which would have been impossible. Immediately you're hearing something which would have sounded actually quite shocking. No one had ever heard the trumpet play in this melodic way before, and also quite low. It's a totally new sound, and I think Haydn, I think he was cleverer than just adding all his tricks in one go, but he really did do many new things. And the second movement, I think, is a wonderful example of that, where we go to C flat major, which is something that, of course, is a very distant key from what was happening, and in the rest of the movement. And I think that was him saying, look how far we can take this. And of course the last movement's very virtuosic and full of fireworks for the period. I think it's wonderfully balanced. It's not always about the loud trumpet and then the quiet orchestra. It's very much an interplay between the players, and also what's going on between the accompaniment players. It's very interesting, and just studying the score just really reveals so much that's so subtle and that you could easily miss. You could miss for years. I don't want to have too much traditional, not too much vibrato, which is more romantic, not too much articulation, which is easier for trumpet players, yet not as good for the music. So I'm trying to strip away all those things that get added on over the years, and with myself I've added on, but musically you can't justify, and if you can't justify it musically, it can't be in there. And that's the way I approach the piece. I kind of know it so well now. Every player in the orchestra, I know that apart, which makes it really fascinating. I really believe it's one of Haydn's greatest works. I really do. Living the life of a trumpet soloist is a very interesting one. There's more repertoire than you would think, and I do find myself playing different things all the time. think the most I've ever stopped playing my trumpet for is about 2 weeks, and it was about 6 years ago. So it's something that just continues all the time. It's always there with me, no matter what else is happening in my life. So far it's been always there, and I've got lots of plans for the future. There's so many things I want to play that I think would work well on the trumpet, and things I want to record, and of course, you know, some of the greatest orchestras around the world that I'd love to play with, and also, you know, make some more chamber music, which is hard because there's not so much repertoire as there is for, say, the stringed instruments. But there's so much there if you are willing to put the time in to find what's good quality. Because I'm a real classical music fan myself, and I don't want to play things just for the sake of it. I want to find things of great quality. So that's what I will probably do for the rest of my career.